Coming up next, a vaccine passport is being planned. See how it may be implemented and why it could be controversial.
Plus, we'll take a look at how a State College elementary school has been handling learning during a pandemic.
It's been an interesting year. So I've taught, this is my 16th year. And it feels like my first year teaching again.
And see how law enforcement officials and mental health professionals are working together to handle mental health emergencies. The Center County Report starts now. Good afternoon, I'm Rhea Jha.
And I'm Matt Saporsky. Thanks for joining us for the Center County Report.
Pennsylvania will make every adult in the state eligible for the COVID vaccine in 10 days. Right now, it's rushing to vaccinate as many people as possible. The state is now in phase 1B. Those now eligible to receive a vaccine include state education employees, manufacturing workers, U.S. Postal Service, and public transit workers. The schedule opens to all 1C residents on Monday, and every Pennsylvanian will be eligible on April 19th. The easing of COVID-19 occupancy restrictions also continues across the state. As of April 4th, bars and restaurants were allowed to raise their indoor capacity to 75% and resume full bar service. Gyms, malls, and theaters also moved to 75% occupancy, and live indoor events increased to 25%.
There's a lot of debate about so-called vaccine passports as travel opens up. But what are they and how do they work? Reporter Natalie Graham is live at the University Park Airport with more. Natalie?
Thanks, Matt. I'm here live at the University Park Airport as air traffic begins to pick up. However, as many Americans plan their post-pandemic lives, one question keeps coming up. Would a certification for vaccine status be a sensible solution or an infringement upon your constitutional rights?
Before you go to leave your house, don't forget your keys, your wallet, your phone, and now your vaccine passport.
Vaccine passports are currently being developed to verify an individual's COVID-19 immunization status. This will allow vaccinated individuals to travel, shop, and dine more freely. But it has also become a controversial topic in America's political war. Dr. Michael Ryan, the executive director of the World Health Organization Health Emergencies Program, says we need to be careful.
We need to be very, very careful that the process of certifying vaccination does not result in personal freedoms or human rights being impeded.
Currently, vaccine passports have been used through an app with the code that verifies if somebody has been vaccinated or recently tested negative for COVID-19. The Biden administration said that it will not build a national vaccination app, but leave the decision to private sectors. Jordan Clark, GOP president at Penn State University, disagrees with making the vaccine mandatory.
To require someone to get a medical procedure of any kind, including a vaccine, to participate in society, I think is juvenile and completely irrational.
As summer approaches, many individuals are planning to go on vacations, attend sporting events, and more. But will they need a vaccine passport to partake in these activities? World traveler and Penn State senior Brenna Murray is debating traveling after graduation, but still plans on getting the vaccine.
I wanted to get it so that way I'm covered. I'm not as worried about myself, but that way I don't put other people like elders or those who actually have pre-existing conditions at risk.
There is only one state that has vaccine passports, and that's New York. Live from the airport, I'm Natalie Graham. Now back to you at the anchor desk.
Thanks, Natalie. Starting today, Penn State will host a regional vaccination clinic at the Bryce Jordan Center. The site is being run by the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency and the Department of Health. The clinic will be open 5 days a week with the hopes of giving 600 doses of the vaccine each day. Anyone who is eligible, regardless of their county of residence, is able to book an appointment, including out-of-state students. Appointments can be reserved online at pema.trackmyvaccine.com or by calling this number, 1-844-545-3450.
The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the way schools operate, and many say a year of remote learning is hurting kids. I visited Easterly Parkway Elementary and State College to see how students, teachers, and parents have had to learn how to adjust to a new way of schooling. In-person learning is slowly making its way back to Easterly Parkway Elementary. More than 200 students are currently in person and close to 100 students are still taking their classes virtually. Teachers are having to rethink how they teach.
So I've taught, this is my 16th year, and it feels like my first year teaching again.
Pandemic guidelines are being followed. Hand sanitizers are outside every classroom, desks are spread 6 feet apart, and space markers populate the halls.
It's different because the teachers are like reminding you to stay apart and you can't like do hands-on stuff.
Principal Danielle Yoder says she takes an encouraging approach when enforcing the guidelines.
My kids are excited. We love to see that excitement and they begin to get close. So it's not like a punishment. You don't have your mask up. It's supporting and reminding.
Easterly Parkway also has a system to reward students when they follow the rules.
So if we see them doing the right thing, if they're 6 feet apart, if they're hand sanitizing, if they're doing the right thing, we give them an eagle, and then eventually that earns, after 15 eagles, you get a prize.
Meanwhile, online, teachers have to get creative to keep their students engaged. It really is about reading the room.
Man, everyone seems really tired today. Are you guys really tired? Yeah. Do we just need to read a story for right now and just take it easy? Yes, we do.
Remote learning isn't for everyone, especially at such a young age. Tiffany Cortazzo said her kindergartner had difficulty doing school online.
When she was at home, she thought she could just be home and go outside when she wanted to, watch TV, eat whenever she wanted to.
Even though it has been a tough year, Yoder is thankful for everyone's cooperation.
I can tell you the resiliency of the teachers and the students and the parents. I feel blessed.
For the Center County Report, I'm Rhea Jha. Most people we talk to hope students at Easterly Parkway and schools everywhere will be back in person in school at the fall.
Mount Airy Medical Center is no longer allowing most visitors. Previously, the hospital was allowing guests, but stopped after hospitalizations for COVID increased in our area recently. Special circumstances will remain for the emergency room and the Women and Children's Services departments if the visitor tests negative for the coronavirus. The rule is now in effect indefinitely.
The State Theater is opening its doors to in-person events once again after a year-long COVID-19 shutdown. The move comes after easing restrictions for venues like the State Theater, moving from 15% capacity to 25%. The date of their first event is still being determined, but the general manager says they're happy to welcome back an audience, and they're grateful for the local support over the last year.
And I just can't say enough how excited we are to be working towards welcoming the public back. We've been waiting for this for over a year, so we're very excited.
Until now, the theater has only been hosting small private rentals and virtual programming.
We're seeing a little rain around the area today. Will it clear out for the weekend? The forecast is coming up. Also ahead, with many surrounding states legalizing the recreational use of marijuana, is Pennsylvania on track to do the same? A look at this issue next. A state college company is accused of stealing millions of dollars from its own workers. The Glenn Hallbaker Company is charged in what the state's top prosecutor called a fraud case that's the largest case of its kind nationally. The company says it's cooperating and wants a swift resolution of the case.
After more than a year of work, the Center County Mental Health Task Force recently released its evaluation of mental health crisis services in our area. Reporter Dana Brewer breaks down the findings.
The Mental Health Task Force was formed in the fall of 2019 after Osazi Asagi was fatally shot by police. Assistant State College Borough Manager Tom King says mental health crisis services are something that every county across the state struggles with.
The county commissioners and borough elected officials, council members, formed this 32-person task force to start looking at what more we could do to improve on what we believe to be a good system, but not good enough.
Over about a year period, the task force gathered their findings, which include existing strengths as well as ways to improve crisis services. They addressed many obstacles, like the lack of access and the outdated Mental Health Procedures Act from 1976. Elena Chesney brought her work with Penn State's Counseling and Psychological Services to the table.
And how we help students navigate our system, and how our system also interacts with the other parts of the crisis system in Center County.
The final report contains 11 recommendations to enhance services system-wide. Among them, create a response team made up of law enforcement and mental health professionals, create an inclusive coordinating committee, and establish shared training across agencies. You can read the full report by going to statecollegepa.us and search for Mental Health Task Force. From State College, I'm Dana Brewer for the Center County Report.
Here's some important information. If you or someone you know is going through a mental health crisis in Center County, you can call the crisis line. The number is 1-800-643-5432. Additionally, crisis walk-in assessment services are available 24/7 at 2100 East College Avenue in State College.
For the third time in 5 years, Penn State will begin a nationwide search for a new university police chief. Chief Joseph Milik says he'll retire on June 30th after serving in law enforcement for more than 30 years. During his career, Milik's worked with several universities as well as the Cincinnati Police Department. He also served on Penn State's Policing and Communities of Color Task Force.
With some of Pennsylvania's neighboring states legalizing recreational marijuana for adults, reporter Jordan Lewis looked into some of the obstacles Pennsylvania has to overcome to become the 16th U.S. state to legalize pot.
Standing at $61 billion, the U.S. cannabis industry is growing at an exceptional rate. Despite nearby states legalizing recreational use, Pennsylvania still faces many obstacles to legalization. With the potential to generate $581 million annually, many pro-legalization hopefuls wonder what the risk is. Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman says a majority of the holdup comes from statewide division.
Center certainly skewed strongly pro, but we've had counties, around the 50-50 mark too, where people are relatively equally divided.
Among public disagreement, the Commonwealth is challenged by a Republican-led Senate and House that feel a change in marijuana legislature is not a priority.
Todd Shearer, an executive for Kind Growth Capital, one of the leading financial sources for the legal cannabis industry, believes recreational legalization is likely for Pennsylvania this year.
And I know that the governor and particularly the lieutenant governor are real advocates of getting this done this year. So I'd say the chances are pretty high degree of success.
A bipartisan bill currently awaits a Senate committee assignment before it can be voted on, but it's expected to move forward in the legislative process. In State College, I'm Jordan Lewis for the Center County Report.
Many say with the backing from Pennsylvania, Governor Tom Wolf, and after statewide medicinal marijuana success, legal recreational use seems possible, but it still faces an uphill battle in the PA legislature. Now, over to Olivia with weather.
I'm student meteorologist Olivia Lawrence, and we're going to start today with some weather headlines. So we do see some precipitation wrapping up in our area as a low pressure system is on its tail end. And with that said, high pressure is moving into the area, so we will see some clearer weather tonight into tomorrow. And unfortunately, we will see some rain showers tomorrow night moving into Sunday morning. And then after that, we'll have a quiet week up ahead up until about Thursday. So we have a live shot of Beaver Stadium where we can see we are overcast today with some of those remaining low pressure clouds. And our current conditions in State College, we have about 52 degrees with a dew point of about 48 degrees, and winds are relatively calm for this time of year. Now we're going to take a look at our feels like temperatures for Pennsylvania. So we do see State College again at that 52. Johnstown over here down at 51, that's the low for today for feels like, and Williamsport will be the high. And then moving into our actual temperatures, again, pretty much the same. Our humidity is not taking too much of a toll on our real temperatures today. But again, we see Pittsburgh and Erie up in the highs for Pennsylvania today, and Johnstown remaining at the low of 51. Moving into our satellite and radar, we do see those clouds over Pennsylvania, but relatively clear skies coming into our area once those clouds clear through. And I do think that it's important to note that we have a relatively low pressure system starting down here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. And with that said, we'll keep an eye on that low pressure system moving up into our region on Sunday, and then again, clear skies coming into our area up until about Thursday of next week. With that said, our forecast for State College, today we have a high of about 59 degrees with a chance of showers around 80% with light winds, so make sure you wear your raincoats if you're planning on going out tonight. Our forecast for tonight, again, 51, a little bit colder with isolated sprinkles, and we have a forecast of about high of 68 tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a chance of showers at 20%. For our 7-day forecast, again, we have some nice weather coming up this week with a high of 71 on Sunday, which is really nice for this time of year. And then again, moving in, we do see that rain on Thursday. But with that said, I will send it over to Dana with sports.
Thanks, Olivia. Coming up next in sports, the Penn State women's soccer team is preparing to host the most important game of the season this weekend. We have more after the break. Also coming up, a local for the first time in around 30 years. We'll tell you who's enjoying their new facilities next in sports. I'm Dana Brewer with sports. Coach James Franklin is talking highly of his Penn State team this week as spring football practice continues. Last season, the Nittany Lions had no spring practice, and sophomore Brandon Smith think that contributed to their losing season. Franklin talked about how things are improving, and players like Smith are key to Penn State's performance this fall.
Those two guys have a chance to really make our linebacker from a historical perspective, make all those former linebackers and our fans proud the way they're going about it.
Really, everybody on the defense has been making plays and stepping up in whatever role that they have, and really just seeing everybody coming together.
Penn State football continues practice through April 17th with the final practice at Beaver Stadium. Penn State's women's soccer is gearing up to start the Big Ten tournament this weekend. The Nittany Lions beat Maryland 6-0 last Sunday to finish their regular season 9-1-1. They return to the pitch Sunday against the winner of today's match between Indiana and Michigan in the Big Ten quarterfinals. You can listen to Sunday's match on Penn State's COM Radio. We recently aired a feature story on Penn State's pitcher Braden Holliday, the son of late MLB Hall of Famer Roy Halladay. The 20-year-old right-hander has made 2 relief appearances so far this season against Maryland and Michigan, respectively. While he was unavailable for our last story, he sat down with us this week to talk about why he chose Penn State after his father's death in 2017 and how he's building his own legacy in Happy Valley.
I hadn't been recruited by a lot of schools at that point when my dad passed away. And so it was about a week before he had passed that I started talking to Penn State. And he had told me that he was very excited about it and thought it would have been a great school. And so it just made me comfortable going here because that was the last place that he was like, oh, I like that place. And I wanted him to be a part of that decision. So that's how I felt I could do that.
Braden Holliday and the Nittany Lions play Michigan State this afternoon. They'll be facing the Spartans one more time tomorrow before staying in East Landing this weekend for a 2-game series against Purdue. The State High baseball team is back on the field today to take on Mifflin County at home. The Little Lions played Chambersburg yesterday and moved to 2-2 on the season after beating the Trojans 6-3. Junior Brady Benedict had strong outing in the lead for the team to win, allowing only 2 runs through the 5 innings and registering 4 strikeouts. After today's game, the Little Lions will go back on the road next week to Cumberland Valley. A local high school track team just hosted its first home meet in nearly 30 years. Reporter Jake Starr talked to the team about how competing in their own backyard.
Home, a word unfamiliar to the Bellefonte track and field team for nearly 30 years.
Earlier this season, the Red Raiders hosted a meet, their first since 1992, when the track was no longer eligible for competition. For head coach Seth Miller, meets are usually strictly business, but he couldn't help but soak it all in.
One of the head officials that evening, he used to coach at a neighboring school district, so I've known him for 15 plus years, and he said something to me, and it just got a little bit emotional. He basically said, hey, you've worked hard for this, and your program, you guys should be proud of what you got here.
After years of practicing in parking lots and busing to every meet, the team is thrilled to have a track of its own. For nearly 30 years, Bellefonte Track and Field didn't have a place they could call home. But this year that's no longer the case, as these runners have a place where they know they belong. It was a surreal feeling for senior Austin Nealis when he finally stepped foot in the renovated Rogers Stadium. After COVID-19 shut down last season, Nealis never thought this would come.
It's incredible because we haven't had this, and track is just an amazing sport, and I enjoy it, and I'm just so happy that we finally got a place of our own.
Captain Juliet Pope felt the same way, even though she couldn't participate in the first meet.
It's gonna have a sense of gratitude to be able to know how many people really are here to support us.
And for Nealis, it was the home track, plus support, that sprung him to a comeback victory he'll never forget.
Hearing the crowd cheering your name at home at Bellefonte is just a feeling that you can't miss.
In Bellefonte, I'm Jake Starr for the Center County Report.
Bellefonte's next meet is tomorrow on its home track at Rogers Stadium. The Red Raiders will take on Selinsgrove Area High School. A former Penn State wrestler has punched his ticket to the Olympic Games. David Taylor shut out fellow Penn State alum Bo Nichols at Dickies Arena in Texas last weekend. Taylor won the best-of-3 series in just 2 matches. He will go on to represent the U.S. at the 86 kilogram this summer at the Tokyo Olympics. Taylor says his job isn't done yet. His goal is to be an Olympic gold medalist. And that's all for sports. Now back to you at the anchor desk.
Thanks, Dana. It'll be interesting to see how Taylor performs in Tokyo. Coming up next, a popular country singer is coming to Happy Valley. Stay tuned to find out when the Bryce Jordan Center will host its first live concert since the start of the pandemic.
Live concerts are starting to make a comeback, and State College now has one on the calendar. Penn State's Bryce Jordan Center has announced country singer Kane Brown will perform in person on November 6th. It'll be the first live concert at the venue in over 600 days since Luke Combs performed at the BJC last February. Penn State students can buy tickets starting at 10 a.m. next Thursday, and the public can buy tickets at 10 a.m. on Friday.
That's all for today's newscast. You can find more of our stories on our website, centercountyreport.com. And you can follow us anytime for breaking news on our Twitter feed. That's at CenterCountyREP or on our Facebook page. We also have a CCR Instagram. Join us for our next newscast next Friday. Have a great weekend.
We hope you enjoyed watching the video. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you did.
For the rest of our newscasts and featured stories, click here.
And for sports, click here. Have a great day, and thanks for watching.